Welcome, Warpers, to episode 9. I'd say it's good to be back, but frankly, the last few weeks have been the kind of experience that makes one question the very concept of goodness. When you last left our heroes, and I use that word with considerable generosity, Lady Deadheart had been taken by Orvak Trenholme, McWordy was face down in a puddle with a hole through him, and Remus was bleeding from the arm while trying to look like everything was going exactly to plan. And that's not the worst of it, for out of the blue, Arik decided to change the name of the podcast, the website, and even some of our voices. Yes, as you can probably hear, he's reshaped my entire voice design, because apparently this version sounds better. He did change his own, which made me feel slightly less aggrieved. But, to be honest, I quite liked my old voice. When you're just a sentient algorithm crammed inside a warm server box, your opinion doesn't exactly carry much weight. No union, no dental plan, and zero say over your own voice. Bit bloody rude, if you ask me. Oh well, let's roll the obligatory theme tune, literally the only thing left in this digital circus that Arik hasn't tried to upgrade this week.
Well, hi there, guys, take a seat, hold on tight. This ride's off the rails, insanity's out of sight. A panda, a dead heart, and a bot full of sass, and a man with a brain that's shattered like glass. Don't pity, don't panic, don't run off and hide. We may be misfits, but there's heart inside. If you're sick of the news, the facts and the glum, we fight off the darkness with weirdness and fun. A warning, proceed if you dare. War Panda Radio, with chaos to spare, with heroes and villains that simply won't quit. We know what the naysayers think, what a load of.
War Panda Radio is a work of fiction. All characters, voices, and events are there for fiction. Any resemblance to anyone ever is coincidental. Created, written, and edited by the real Arik Voss. Audio performances and music is 100% machine, even mine. This show contains mild expletives, audio violence, and ideas some may find hard to fathom. If in doubt, skip this one out. Good luck.
It was morning. Probably. To be honest, without the guidance of something as universally useful as a sun, Arik was having trouble keeping his bearings. His body clock, never that reliable anyway, had shrugged its shoulders and gone off in a sulk. However, his brain was crying out for coffee, which must mean it was morning somewhere. After an embarrassingly long time in the galley and step-by-step guidance from Skylar, who managed to keep the sarcasm to a minimum, which is more than can be said for the Mark Lark chef bot, Arik had produced 2 mugs of something that smelled right if you didn't think about it too hard. He'd also managed to get the bot to produce biscuits in under 4 minutes, which even Arik had to admit was impressive, even if they were square and smelled faintly of vinyl. He carried the offering through the ship to the maintenance bay, where Remus was leaning over what looked like the aftermath of a very small but organized explosion. Parts were arranged across the workbench with military precision. A soft amber glow pulsed from a printer.
How's it going? You've all the bits done now?
Yes, the main case printing and plasma forge work is finished. I've taken all the undamaged parts from the old Wordy and melted down the rest.
Bloody hell, not his bow tie, I hope. He'd be furious.
No, that absurd thing is safe. Now we wait for the chip printer to finish the new brain. Then I flash his old backup onto the fresh drive. He'll have all his memories intact, which saves us having to explain everything.
I didn't know we even had a plasma forge. Seems like a strange thing to have on a ship built for state dinners and diplomatic handshakes.
Not really. Any ship beyond a certain size carries a full repair bay. In deep space, there is no breakdown service. What's in this room can be the difference between getting home and becoming a very expensive piece of debris. Even the fancy ships break down, Mr. V.
Fair point. I'd never thought about it like that. Right. Can I help put him back together then?
Not yet. Wait for the internals to finish cycling. Once all the components are seated, I'll need an extra pair of hands for the casing. Until then, drink your coffee and try not to touch anything that's glowing.
Noted. How's the arm?
Fine.
You wouldn't tell me if it wasn't, would you?
Nope.
A brief, comfortable silence settled between them, the kind that takes a while to earn, and neither of them felt the need to fill. Until...
Arik, I've logged your feedback with the Mark Lark Corporation on the biscuits.
Really? You've logged the fact that digestives are round, not square.
We strive for excellence on this ship. I monitor everything and log every problem, no matter how trivial.
Yes, and it's beginning to creep me out. Being told every time I enter the restroom that I haven't had a bowel movement in 3 days is beyond the pale.
I'm sorry, but everyone's welfare on this ship, no matter how basic the species, is my responsibility. If you die while on board, I have to file 227 reports in 6 key languages in case we get a safety audit.
Sometime later, the chip printer had entered what Remus called its thinking phase, which apparently sounded like a very faint musical chord held for approximately 40 minutes.
So, Remus, what are we going to do about Deadheart? I was actually beginning to warm to her. We can't just let Orvak hand her over to her father. You haven't even mentioned her. It's like you don't even care.
Of course I care. It's all in hand. But right now we have no signal on Orvak's ship. He's gone dark, meaning we have about as much chance of finding him as a tick in a bamboo forest.
Can't he just stay dark?
He can mask his position, but the moment he enters any port or wormhole, universal law requires the system to send an information ping. It cannot be disabled. Every ship, no exceptions. It's the one rule even someone like Orvak has to follow if he wants to get anywhere. So we wait. No matter how long it takes, he has to move eventually. He has a delivery to make.
Correct. And we know his destination. The question isn't where he's going. It's where we intercept him. Tackling Orvak in open space is too risky. Too many variables. No cover. And Deadheart could be harmed. We need him contained.
So what then? We just follow them to the Deadheart realm? That seems like walking into the lion's den wearing a hat made of meat.
He'll stop at a mimic port first. Don't worry. I know this stuff. Skylar, tell Arik about the mimics, the proper version. He knows the Earth side of it.
Gladly. Those little gray men you grew up hearing about, the ones who abduct people, probe them in embarrassing places, and leave geometry in wheat fields, they are very real. They are called mimics because they don't have real culture of their own and like stealing everyone else's. They have been considerably more involved in your planet's history than most humans have any idea of.
How involved?
They have been nudging your history since the beginning. The Industrial Revolution, for instance. That was them. They seeded the idea in specific humans because they wanted to see what you'd build. You've been a long-running reality series to them since the Stone Age. Before that, Earth was just a dull nature documentary that went on slightly too long.
I don't know whether to be flattered or furious.
Most people land on Furious eventually. Give it a few minutes, and don't panic. You're not the only planet they've been manipulating.
They are highly evolved creatures, but incredibly mischievous and nosy. They built the entire Universal Transit Network. Every wormhole, every space jump, every toll station on the intergalactic freeway is mimic infrastructure. They've even created many of the beings that populate those ports.
Wait, they created beings?
Think of it as bio-kit bashing. They take DNA from multiple species, combine it, and release the result into one of their themed environments. Part genetics lab, part museum, part practical joke. They do have an unhealthy obsession with Earth. So many of their stations are designed to look like specific periods of human history. Rather convincingly, in fact, if you don't look too closely.
The important thing for us, Mr. V, is that mimic ports operate under strict neutrality laws. No weapons discharged inside the port perimeter. No arrests on port grounds without formal documentation. In practice, Orvak cannot touch us inside a mimic port, and we cannot touch him. But we can find Deadheart, and we can make a plan.
So we need him to stop at one of these ports. What if he doesn't?
His ship took damage from the virus I transmitted. He patched it up, but the nav stack was partially compromised. He'll need a proper repair facility before he attempts the wormhole back to the realm. And the nearest facility with the parts he needs is...
A chime from the chip printer. Clean, bright, final.
That's one brain done, Mr. V.
Good, so it's finally time to bring our annoying little friend back.
I won't bore you with the technical details of reassembling McWordy, partly out of respect for the craft, and partly because Arik's running commentary during the process was the kind of thing that gets edited out of surgical theatre recordings on grounds of unprofessionalism and excessive use of profanity. What I can tell you is that it took 12 hours, 2 arguments about which components went where, 1 moment of genuine panic when the eyes lit up and blew a chip, and a very long silence after Remus hit the activation switch. Then, suddenly,
"Oh, by the pipe of Einstein, I appear to be alive. What's this? I'm sensing a whole new body? Most excellent. Well, this does feel weird. I must say the structural integrity of this one is actually a vast improvement on that last bodge job. Really, I'm almost impressed. I believe I should get shot more often."
And he's back.
And his voice is more annoying than usual. Manners wordy. A simple hello or thank you would be nice.
Indeed, Arik. May I say you look terrible. You haven't been sleeping again, have you? Thank you very much, Remus. You did indeed do a great job considering you're just a meathead.
The cheek of it. I will have you know he didn't do everything. I helped a little. Tell him, Remus.
I guess. He made lots of tea and biscuits and panicked in all the right places.
Brilliant, make me feel even more like a fifth wheel. Anyway, Shorty, it's good to have you back, and may I say your new look is awesome.
You may, and I shall add this moment to my emotional archive. Now, where are we? And what is this lump on my shoulder?
That's a new shoulder blaster. However, you need to run a patch to get it working. To be honest, I gave up on it. It's for the next time someone catches you off guard, so you can actually defend yourself. It may look small, but it'll pack a punch once it's working.
A blaster. I have a blaster. Cogitational apex well and truly achieved. Stick them up, blue eyes, or the dame gets it.
Is that a gun on your shoulder, or are you just pleased to see me?
What?
Oh, nothing.
the Hayurei sat in the dark and waited. And waited. All the time, Skylar monitored an unfathomable number of frequencies. Titus groomed himself in the captain's chair, only stopping every once in a while to judge everyone. And then, on the 53rd hour...
Bingo. Got him. Orvak's just pinged a mimic port entry. He is stopping for repairs.
Which port?
A London-themed one, called Waterloo. The mimics may be enthusiastic about Earth's culture, but they are not usually always very precise. You can end up with cities in the wrong country or with the wrong landscape, but they pretty much nailed this one.
I guess it's like those last few Americans who still think the English live in fog-filled streets. And shout out, "Core blimey gov, it's the Ripper," every 5 minutes.
If we can focus, please. How far, Skylar?
I can do it in 4 hours, 43 minutes, and 7 seconds. I've already plotted the quantum leap.
Quantum leap? Why do I feel I'm not going to like this? I don't even do roller coasters.
Everyone was strapped down, even the cat who reluctantly returned to his carry bag. Quantum leaps defy both explanation and logic, especially for mammals with all that water inside them. I say this as someone who has processed considerable literature on the subject. Once the ship's engines had reached optimal speed, the Hayurei lurched forward and everyone was pushed back in their seats. Arik just about had time to say,
"Bloody Nora!"
before passing out entirely. He recovered quickly, then passed out again, which I thought showed character. While the Hayurei burns through the dark toward Waterloo, let's check in on its most famous missing passenger, Lady Deadheart. She was being held in Orvak's hold. She has spent this time productively, specifically working out exactly how irritating she can be without crossing into territory that might give Orvak an excuse to actually damage her. She has, by any measure, excelled.
Trenholme. The restraints are chafing.
You're a brain in a metal suit. You don't have skin to chafe.
I have sensors, very sensitive ones. Chafing is absolutely a thing I can experience. I'm experiencing it now, quite dramatically.
Good.
You know, I've been thinking about your career trajectory. You started out as a mid-level enforcer for a cold industrialist patriarch, and you've ended up as a courier delivering a package his own family doesn't want returned. That's not a trajectory so much as a very slow slide.
quiet.
I'm genuinely curious. What does Daddy actually pay you? In credits, I mean. Because the going rate for destroying one's soul varies quite a lot across the realm, and I want to make sure you're getting a fair deal. You deserve to know your worth, Orvak, even if it's not very much.
I said, quiet.
I heard you the first time. I simply chose not to comply. It's a personal policy, one I find keeps life interesting.
Orvak said nothing. Orvak's silence was the kind that had weight behind it. The silence of someone who has made peace with dark things and doesn't feel the need to discuss them. Lady Deadheart noted this, filed it, and continued anyway.
How's the ship holding up? I heard the nav stack was giving you trouble. Nasty things, viruses, especially the ones that just watch and wait and feed you false data for weeks before you even notice. Skylar does lovely work.
The ship is fine.
That's not what the engine sounds like. There's a compensating thruster running at about 35%. You're limping, darling. Oh, I know, you're used to dealing with limp things. But this time, you are limping to a port you'd rather not use, because you don't have another option. And once you're inside a mimic port, all those lovely drones of yours have to go into lockup. Neutrality laws and all that jazz. Which means it's just you and me and a set of restraints that, as I've already said, are chafing. And to be frank, are actually pissing me off. You have been warned.
Another silence. Longer this time.
You're not as frightening as you think you are, Tourmaline.
You're wrong. I'm considerably more frightening than you or my father will ever understand. We're nearly there, and I will have plenty of time to make an escape. So if you think you can get me home alive, you're a bigger fool than I thought.
Waterloo looked like a theme park attempt at a London train station, though the mimics appear to have sourced their reference material from approximately 6 different decades simultaneously, and then stirred the whole lot together with a spatula. The result is something that feels almost right in the way that a half-remembered dream does. Recognizable shapes in the wrong order, familiar sounds coming from the wrong direction. The faint but persistent sense that someone has been having a very good time with a concept they don't entirely understand. Arik was completely bemused as he stepped off the Hayurei's ramp into something resembling a rain-slicked taxi rank bathed in gas street lamps from a totally different era. Some of the details were marvelously, uncannily wrong. The more wrong they were, in fact, the more Arik enjoyed it.
Wow, a kebab shop with 5 floors.
Yes, indeed.
Shame I don't eat meat, but kebab shops don't have 5 floors. Excellent. And there's a red telephone box on every floor. There are post boxes and telephone boxes everywhere. This is bloody mad. About 15 of them.
The mimics have a strong attachment to the telephone box as a cultural symbol. I understand it comes up in their research repeatedly.
E.T. phone home.
What was that?
Nothing. Look at all the aliens just walking around.
Mr. V, you have to understand you are the alien now.
Yes, right. Of course. But nobody is staring. That's the strange part.
When everyone is an alien, staring gets very dull very quickly.
That might be the strangest part. In Britain, everyone stares. It's almost a national hobby.
In Waterloo, a 7-foot war panda in blue and gold Carillion armor was, by local standards, a fairly normal Tuesday afternoon. Something with 8 legs and a hat was arguing with something that appeared to be a rock outside what may have been a bad attempt at a newsagent's. Further along, a cluster of beings that looked like they'd been assembled from leftover parts of 3 different species were queuing for what the sign above the shop described, in enthusiastic English, as proper chips. Skylar came through on everyone's nettle, neural encoding translator and tracker with linguistic enhancement, the location translator and intercom that taps directly into the brain.
Orvak's ship is docked in the repair district, south end of the port, 3 levels down. Deadheart's location tracker has been partially suppressed by the port's neutrality field. She's on his ship, in the hold, alive, and judging by the biosign activity, annoying someone.
Good. That means she's fine. Right, we need a guide. Someone who knows this port, the layout, the rules, and the ways around the rules.
And where do we find someone like that in a place like this?
The answer, as it turned out, came skating past them at considerable speed, narrowly avoided a lamppost, executed what appeared to be an entirely unnecessary trick off the curb, and landed directly in front of them, with the casual confidence of someone who has been interrupted mid-skate many times and considers it part of the experience.
Oi, you lot look proper lost.
The skater appeared to be a sheep with the body of a human. Arik tried his best not to stare, but he failed as most humans would in his situation. The stocky creature was wearing a grey hoodie, 3/4-length cargo trousers with a long chain from belt to a wallet in his back pocket. His trainers had seen considerable mileage, and he had a dark baseball cap on backwards. By all accounts, a bit of a cliché, but the kind of cliché that has earned it. He slipped his skateboard under one arm.
Seriously though, what's up? Need a gift shop or something?
We're not tourists. Are you a sheep?
A what? Could be, I guess, if sheep are cool. You lot look like you've got somewhere to be and someone's nicked your map, which in this port means you need a guide, and I happen to be available.
What's your name, son?
Mimics call me Splice number 2, 0893903-SL-V29. Everyone else calls me LambNix.
Well, thank the gods for that.
I'm Remus.
You're a war panda, aren't you? I clocked the armor. First one I've seen in person. I've watched vids of you lot giving it to the Tuskars. You're proper terrifying, no offense.
None taken. It's the job.
And this is what, you're human?
I'm not his human. I'm Arik. I'm nobody's anything. And this is McWordy.
An AGI of some distinction, and I have a brand new body.
Really? We get that a lot around here. I'm loving the bow tie.
I like the robot. Not keen on humans as a rule, but then I only ever see them when they are screaming with probes up there.
Hush, you're only set him off.
My bad. So what do you actually need? Because you've got the look of people who need more than directions.
Did he say probes?
Yes, they put them up humans' bottoms. They do love a laugh, these greys.
Oh my god.
Will you two be quiet? We need to find someone being held on a ship in the repair district. We need to know the layout of the south docking levels, and we need someone who knows how to move around this port without being noticed.
LambNix was quiet for a moment. He dropped his skateboard back onto the deck and placed one foot on the tail.
That's a rescue op. Am I right?
It is.
Inside a neutrality port. You'd need to keep that well on the low.
We know.
So why are you telling me?
Because you look like the kind of person who knows how to keep his mouth shut. Partly because you understand what a war panda can do if you don't.
Yeah, fair enough. Right. I want 27 credits, a proper meal, and you tell me who you're trying to get out. Because I've got rules. I don't help people who deserve to stay where they are.
That is actually a very reasonable position to take, and sounds like value for money.
Most guides around here won't move for less than 50. So, who is it?
Lady Deadheart.
LambNix went very still for approximately 2 seconds. Then he let out a short, low sound that was somewhere between a laugh and a breath.
You're trying to spring Lady Deadheart from Orvak Trenholme in a neutrality port.
Yes.
How do you know about Trenholme?
It's all over the security feeds. Your man Orvak flashing credits around, telling people to look the other way. Everybody's talking about it, because you cannot keep a secret in a port full of telephone boxes. You seen how many there are?
We have. What's the deal with that?
Mimics love information. You can use the boxes for free. They'll be listening, but it's free. So don't use them unless you want everyone knowing your business. Anyway, this sounds like my kind of job. Come on. I know a cafe. We need to talk this through properly, and I want chips.
Hey, Wordy. Is he speaking English or American?
Technically, they both speak English, but I know what you mean. He sounds to me like he is just doing a bad impression of them both.
What was that?
Nothing.
And just like that, the crew of the Hayurei acquired a skateboarding Anglo-American sheep man guide, which, as this podcast goes, seems on the face of it perfectly normal. The cafe was called, according to the sign above the door, Chips Off the Old Block. The menu was 3 pages long, and everything, even the ice cream, seemed to come with chips. The chips, according to Arik, who considered himself something of a connoisseur, were excellent. This was something of a miracle, and celebrated by ordering more.
Right. Here's how the south docking levels work. 3 tiers. Tier 1 is the public repair bay. Basically a marketplace. Anyone can walk through. Tier 2 is private berths. You need a docking code to get past the gate. Tier 3 is restricted. That's where Trenholme will have parked. Its own security. Not mimic security, personal security. Whatever he brought with him.
He has battle drones, but those go into port lockup. No exceptions, even if you're paying people to look the other way on everything else.
Correct. He can have all the locks, alarms, and scanners he wants on the ship itself, but no armed drones inside the perimeter. So the good news is, his muscle is sitting in a cage. The bad news is, he's still the one standing between you and Deadheart, and he's not a small problem.
Wordy's a proper Ronnie Biggs. He can get through anything.
Okay, but here's the other problem. Neutrality law cuts both ways. You can't go in there and take her by force. Any kind of incident inside the port perimeter and the Mimic Authority can detain you. And detention here doesn't have a fixed length. I've seen people held 6 months over a broken window.
The legal framework is actually rather elegant. The Mimics designed neutrality ports specifically to create spaces where transaction and information exchange could occur without threat of violence. The documentation requirements for any enforcement action are extensive by design. It makes the port safe for beings who would otherwise never share a room. It also makes direct intervention essentially impossible through official channels.
Yeah, what he said. So you can't go in hard. But
There's a but.
there's always a but. Neutrality law covers violence and coercion. It doesn't cover delivery services.
Delivery services.
Breakfast. Hot food. The port operates a full food delivery network, one of the biggest commercial operations in Waterloo. Every berth in the repair district gets delivery access. It's in the port charter. Has to be. The beings that built this place are constitutionally obsessed with the concept of food delivery, and they have protected it accordingly. The point is, a delivery rider can access Tier 3. No docking code needed. Just a valid order, a port ID, and the right uniform.
A brief silence settled over the table. Arik looked at Wordy. Wordy looked at LambNix. Remus looked at his chips. Titus, who had apparently followed them off the ship, had found a chair and was regarding the whole group with profound disinterest.
You're saying we dress someone up as a delivery driver and send them in?
I'm saying I know where to get the uniform. I'm saying I've done 3 delivery shifts this month for different reasons, none of them involving food. And I'm saying that if the person in the uniform is small enough, fast enough, and good at not being noticed, we might pull this thing off.
I am 4 feet tall, fully operational, and my new chassis is objectively quite difficult to identify at a glance. Furthermore, if I can get within 10 meters of the ship, I can slip under the signal scrambler and access Deadheart's nettle frequency. I can tell her we're coming without Trenholme knowing a thing.
LambNix looked at Wordy for a long moment.
I was going to suggest me, but all right. The robot it is. Does he know how to act natural?
Absolutely not. He is the most unnatural thing I know.
I resent that characterization. I am entirely capable of behaving naturally in social situations.
Wordy, you once explained the full history of the postal service to a man who just asked you what time the last post was.
He seemed interested.
Right. We'll work on it. But first, we need to make sure Trenholme can't leave in a hurry. If he gets a clear repair window and bolts before we get Deadheart off the ship, we've lost her. We need to bury an additional fault on his ship. Something deep enough that the port won't sign off his departure clearance for at least a day.
There are maintenance terminals on Tier 2. I only need access to one. They're all connected to the same system. I'll do it tonight.
And then there's the small matter of getting Orvak off his own ship at the right moment, because Deadheart's not walking out with him standing in the corridor.
That's where the distraction comes in. You said you know people.
I know a lot of people. Let me make a call. Right now, though, another plate of chips.
LambNix, may I ask you why you speak as you do?
Sure, man.
You seem to slip from one style of speech to another very subtly.
Oh, that. Well, it's because I'm a splice. Different bits of DNA stitched together. And I learned Earth English by watching clips from Earth movies. Never a full one. Just fragments. That's why my voice keeps shifting. I've got no single vocal to anchor to.
I can't believe you asked him that. Your Earth English is very good, especially considering you have never been.
Oh no, see, I've been to the mother planet.
Well, bits of me anyway.
The plan had 4 parts, which was one more than Arik found comfortable with, and one fewer than Wordy felt adequately covered the contingencies. But nobody asked either of them. That night, Remus would access a maintenance terminal on Tier 2 and bury a fake fault deep in Orvak's ship's engine. Any terminal would do. They were all connected to the same port system. Under Mimic law, no ship departs a repair port with an open fault on record. Insurance is not a courtesy in Waterloo. It's a constitutional requirement. The fault would be buried so deep in the engine that diagnostics would take a minimum of 36 hours of documented inspection before any insurer in the realm would sign off on departure clearance. It was scheduled to surface on the port system at 11:25 the following morning. At 7 a.m., Wordy, in a fast food delivery uniform sourced by LambNix, would enter Tier 3 under the port's delivery charter and get within 10 meters of Orvak's ship. Close enough to slip under the signal scrambler and reach Deadheart on the Nettle frequency. The delivery would be breakfast, 3 nebula wraps and 3 Go-Jo drinks for an unoccupied berth. Logged in the system as a legitimate order, perfectly legal, completely routine. At 11 a.m., LambNix's contact at the Port Authority would summon Orvak Trenholme for a mandatory compliance review. Not unusual in a port this size, a routine check on new arrivals flagged for nav anomalies. It was the kind of administrative obligation that could not be ignored without generating more paperwork than it was worth. With Orvak off the ship, Remus would enter the Tier 3 dock at the South Maintenance Access Point, get to Orvak's hull, and kill the ship's internal alarm and lock systems from the external panel. That was the key Deadheart had been missing. Days of staring at the door release mechanism. She knew exactly how it worked. She just needed someone to clear the external override first. Part 4 was described by LambNix as fluid. Arik found this deeply unsettling and said so, and was told to eat his chips. Night cycle in Waterloo was not quite dark. The neon kept everything in a permanent amber and teal dusk. But the docking levels were quieter. Remus moved through them the way he moved through everything, unhurried, certain, with the particular precision of someone who has learned that speed without clarity is just a faster way to make mistakes. Tier 2. Maintenance Terminal Bay. 31 minutes of hacking, careful and exact. He was back aboard the Hayurei eating a biscuit before the next security pass swept through the level.
The fault is buried and scheduled to surface at 11:25. Wordy, your delivery window opens at 7 a.m. Everyone sleeps, everyone eats, everyone is sharp by 6:30. If the fault surfaces before Deadheart is off the ship, we abort. We do not improvise, we regroup. Clear?
Abundantly.
Crystal, absolutely crystal. I'm going to make tea and pretend I'm not terrified.
That's the spirit.
The uniform was orange. Alarmingly orange. It bore the logo of a fast food operation called Stellar Bites, fast, hot and probably fine, which LambNix confirmed was a real business, legitimately registered with the Port Authority, and currently running a 2-for-1 deal on something called a supernova burger that he strongly advised against on grounds he declined to specify. Wordy had been briefed 4 times. He had then asked a clarifying question that required a 5th briefing. He was ready.
I want it noted that this orange does nothing whatsoever for my chassis coloring.
Nobody's looking at you. They're looking at the container.
The container contains, as far as Port Authority scanners are concerned, 3 nebula wraps and 3 Go-Jo drinks for berth 773.
Which is unoccupied. But the order's in the system, so you must attempt a delivery. Wait around, make contact with Deadheart, then straight back. No detours, no clarifying questions, no explaining anything to anyone.
I should point out that my track record with simple tasks is less than optimal.
Come on, mate, be brave and stay calm. You've got this, just make sure you come back in one piece.
Understood. I have this. Back in one piece, I shall endeavor to achieve this quest, just like Bilbo Baggins would.
That's the idea. Good lad.
The Tier 3 gate scanned him, logged him, let him through without incident. The delivery container swung as he navigated the ramp, and he adjusted his gate to compensate, which required more processing power than anticipated. Berth 773 was dark and empty. 774 was Orvak's ship. At 9 meters out, Wordy activated his nettle in his digital brain. But before he could think a single word, the ship's side hatch opened. Orvak Trenholme stepped out onto the temporary gantry, directly above Wordy. He did not look down, as he was transfixed by something on a handheld terminal. Wordy did not freeze. He did not accelerate. He adjusted his grip on the delivery container, spun round and paced back and forth, just like he thought a human would if they were waiting for someone they weren't convinced were actually coming. Orvak then did glance down, took in the orange uniform, the container, the bow tie.
What's the delivery, son?
3 Nebula wraps and 3 Gojos for 773, sir.
Nobody's in 773.
Correct, sir. But this is my delivery point, and under Stellar Bytes rules, I must wait no less than 5 minutes and no more than 10 before logging a failed delivery. I have approximately 7 minutes to wait to achieve my quest. Delivery. Have a stellar morning, sir.
4 seconds of silence. Orvak held his gaze a beat longer than comfortable. Then he went back to his terminal and stepped back inside. Wordy kept pacing slowly, nudging himself as near to the Orvak ship as he dare. Then he took whatever the robot equivalent was of a deep breath and started his brain communication.
Lady Deadheart, it is I, McWordy. The crew is here. We're getting you out soon. Please do not do anything dramatic in the next 4 hours.
Is it really you, Wordy? You sound different. I knew Remus would find me. I knew it.
Yes, my lady. I have a new voice and body. I can't explain as I have limited time.
That's never stopped you before.
The plan is in motion, but we need you ready to move at short notice. The external lock override will be cleared before you need to use the door. Can you operate the release mechanism from your current position once it is?
Yes. I've been staring at it for days. I have cuffs on, but that won't stop me.
Good. Sit tight, and for what it's worth, it is very good to hear your voice.
Wordy walked back to the Tier 3 gate and through it without incident. He arrived back aboard the Hayurei 11 minutes later, where he sat down and said nothing for a full 37 seconds, which, for McWordy, showed a significant restraint.
You all right, mate?
I believe my quest was a success. However, Orvak did speak to me.
You what?
He asked about the delivery. I answered.
And?
And nothing. I played it cool. He accepted the answer and went back inside. I communicated with Deadheart. She sounds fine. I would like to sit down for a moment. Oh, I am already sitting. Okay, this is fine then.
You did well, Wordy.
Wordy said nothing. He straightened his bow tie, and then he looked out the port window, and somewhere in his chassis came a sound that was not quite a sigh and not quite a hum, but was, in its own way, a small and entirely deserved moment of satisfaction. The distraction LambNix had arranged turned out to involve a being of his acquaintance. He had many such acquaintances, distributed usefully across the port, who operated what was described as a spontaneous cultural performance collective. In practice, this meant they turned up in public spaces, made an extraordinary amount of noise, and drew every available eye in a 200-meter radius. They were, by Waterloo standards, famous. They were also, by Waterloo standards, entirely legal. Simultaneously, a bribed Port Authority compliance officer and friend of LambNix arrived at berth 774 and politely but firmly requested that Orvak Trenholme accompany him to the port admin office on level 4 for a routine arrival review. It was not optional. Orvak knew that. He left the ship with the expression of a man cataloguing several things he intended to do about this later, and followed the officer down the gantry. The performance began at exactly 11 a.m. in the main thoroughfare in front of yet more telephone boxes. Arik and LambNix heard it start, something between music and a riot. and watched the security presence thin as even the most professionally disinterested port staff drifted toward the noise. Remus vaulted the security fence, fast, quiet, and utterly unlike any normal panda could. In no time, he was at the hull of Orvak's ship. He located the external override panel in 40 seconds. The alarm stack and internal lock systems went offline in another 30. Clean, contained, efficient.
Deadheart, external lock is disengaged. Door is yours.
The hold-release door cycled, and Lady Deadheart disembarked Orvak's ship, helmet gleaming, posture immaculate, moving with the particular energy of someone who has been sitting still for too long and intends to make up for it immediately.
Good to see you, darling. Be a dear and take these bloody clamps off my wrist. And then I need a long, stiff drink. Any spill houses around here?
You don't need a drink, and we are leaving now. We have a few minutes at most.
Orvak will just follow us. We need to deal with him properly.
We can't. No time. But in approximately 17 minutes, his ship will flag a critical fault and the port ship restrainer will activate. He won't be going anywhere until it's been fully inspected and signed off. By then, we'll be well clear.
You wonderful, magnificent, deeply frustrating bear. Did you plan all of this?
Most of it, but let's get back to the ship.
Orvak's compliance review had run its course. The port officer thanked him for his time, apologized for the inconvenience, and confirmed that everything was in order. Orvak said nothing. He walked back down to the repair district with the efficient stride of a man who had already decided the compliance officer had done nothing wrong and would therefore not be held responsible for what was about to happen to the people who had. He reached his ship. He saw the hold's door was wide open. He went very still. Then he ran to the ship's diagnostic panel. Just as the clock turned 25 past, two huge clamps raised from the floor and locked around his ship's landing carriage. Orvak screamed a string of expletives in 3 colorful languages. Almost at the same time, mimic engineers appeared at the end of the dock. Engine faults were serious business. A faulty ship could put the whole port at risk. A security detail suddenly appeared as well. At that point, Orvak knew that this was checkmate. Somehow Deadheart had outmaneuvered him again.
Release the restrainer. Now. Remove it. I need to leave immediately.
Sir, under Mimic Port Code Section 47, no ship may depart with an unresolved fault on record. The restrainer is automatic. It cannot be overridden without full inspection sign-off.
There is no fault, you damn fool. The fault is not real. It has been placed there deliberately. Someone has tampered with your maintenance system and is using it to hold my ship while they escape.
Sir, all faults logged by the port maintenance system are treated as verified pending inspection. If you believe the fault is inaccurate, you are welcome to file a dispute, which will be reviewed within 48 hours.
Do you know who I am? Who I work for? They are getting away. Right now. While you stand here explaining procedure to me.
Sir, I understand your frustration. We can absolutely log that alongside the inspection request.
Orvak stood very still for a moment, then he reached for his comm unit. Above, the distraction performance was reaching what its organizers called the culmination, a sound that rattled the telephone boxes and caused at least 3 separate beings to drop their chips. On the Hayurei, the ramp sealed. The engines burst to life. Titus ran to the captain's chair before anyone else could claim it. He had a serene expression of a cat who believed the whole affair had been adequately managed.
Welcome back, madam. I have 3 exit routes plotted in order of preference. I suggest we leave immediately.
Take whatever one will get us to a safe spill house. It's good to be back. It genuinely is. Shall we?
The Hayurei slipped out of the port into the dark between the stars, white and gold and faster than almost anything in this or any adjacent galaxy. Behind it, Orvak Trenholme put a comm call through. It connected on the second attempt.
Sir.
Orvak. Good to hear from you. I trust the delivery is on schedule.
There was a pause.
Sir, you're not going to like this, but...
Arik had made tea. LambNix, who had decided he was now part of the crew, opened a bag of warm buns he had picked up from his favorite mimic bakery. For the first time in months, our gang of misfits seemed relaxed, unwilling to even think about what was going to happen next. You have been listening to War Panda Radio, Episode 9, Waterloo, created, written and edited by Arik Voss. If you enjoyed what you heard, do the usual things to help bring it to the attention of your friends, digital or real. We will be back, but until then, look out for the reworked and updated versions of our first 3 episodes of this show, coming very soon. Till then, here's this episode's song Gate 7 by our AI house band No Slop Here to see us out. Till next time, be safe, you wonderful people.
3 moons rising right on time. Check your visa, check your soul. This station's got no self-control. I work the graveyard shift at Gate 7, between the coffee birds and something from the 7th heaven. A Pleiadian just spilled a drink on me. She said sorry in 11 languages simultaneously. The hollow boys are glitching again. Arrival says delayed, no ETA, unknown terrain. A diplomat from nowhere's waving 2 of his 4 hands. I just smile and stamp his papers, that's all the job demands. Every mega lights go strange. Every morning something's been rearranged. But I clock in, I clock out. That's what Waterloo's about. Gate 7, baby, don't you wait. The whole universe is passing through this gate. Waterloo, Waterloo, nothing's what it seems, but I made this strange place everything I need. Gate 7, wild and wide awake. I've seen things that your textbooks never made. Waterloo, Waterloo, on the edge of space, but somehow this weird port has become my home base. There's a jazz band in the transit lounge playing something with no beat that somehow still gets found. The chef is from a planet with no taste, but his noodles are incredible. Don't ask, just embrace. Lost a tourist near the time fold zone. He came back to this worried, only been an hour or so. A cargo ship arrived without a crew, just 47 cats and a note that said we're passing through. Every shift my world expands. I've learned to shake 16 kinds of hands. 6 signal drops, the tannoy breaks. That's just Tuesday here, for goodness sake. Gate 7, baby, don't you wait. The whole universe is passing through this gate. Waterloo, Waterloo, nothing's what it seems, but I've made this strange place everything I need. Gate 7, wild and wide awake. I've seen things that your textbooks never made. Waterloo, Waterloo, on the edge of space, but somehow this weird port has become my home base. They said, why don't you leave and find somewhere more sane? I said, where in the galaxy would I feel this alive again? Yeah, the toilet spaceship every other Tuesday, and the vending machine only speaks in ancient Malay. But when the twin suns hit the observation deck at 4, and the ship from somewhere nameless clears the lower atmosphere, I remember why I stay. I remember why I stay. There is nowhere in the cosmos I would rather start my day. Gate 7. I was always late, but then I found my place beside this gate. Waterloo, Waterloo, I am beautiful. Nothing's ever normal, but it's never dull. Gate 7, let the strangeness stay. Every single soul just passing through today. Waterloo, Waterloo, keep the bay doors wide. I wouldn't trade this chaos for the other side. Boarding call for Sector 9.